Okay, I have to be honest with you right out of the gate. When I first looked at the topic for today, I actually thought I was looking at a typo. I was staring at the screen thinking, did did the intern mess this up?
Mm.
Because we were looking at two phrases that sound identical but apparently mean completely different things.
You're talking about game design versus design game.
I am, and it feels like a riddle. Game design versus design game. It's just word scramble,
Yep.
like, houseboat versus boathouse. But usually those things are pretty easy to figure out. Here, I was a little lost.
It does sound like a bit of a linguistic trap. But no, the distinction is actually huge. It's not just semantics. It's a completely different philosophy of how we interact with systems. And it is, well, it's central to the research we are diving into today.
Right, so game design, we know that. That's Shigeru Miyamoto making Mario Jump. That's a developer coding physics for a racing simulator. It's the act of making a game for people to play. But a design game is, well, that's the mystery we need to solve. And to understand why this all matters, I think we have to look at the problem this research is trying to fix.
And the problem is something I think a lot of us have experienced firsthand. It's the absolute drudgery of adult education and corporate training.
Oh, don't even get me started. The professional development day.
Yeah.
The windowless conference room, the lukewarm coffee, the PowerPoint slides with way too much text.
And let's not forget the breakout sessions.
The worst. Okay, everyone, turn to your partner and discuss synergy. And everyone just awkwardly stares at their phones or, doodles at a notepad. It's often dry, it's boring, and frankly, it's usually not very effective. We do it because we have to, not because we learn anything.
Precisely. So the source we are covering today is a fascinating study titled Preliminary Study on the Relationships Between Design and Serious Games in the Context of Adult Education. It involves a whole team of researchers, Julian Alvarez, Olivia Ehrman, and several others from universities in France and Canada.
And their mission, it seems to be pretty radical. They aren't just asking how do we make learning fun. They're asking, how do we stop just playing games to consume information and start using games to create and innovate?
That's the core shift. Can a board game help a team design a new service? Is a design game just a fancy word for a serious game, or is it a unique species? That's what we're here to find out.
But before we get to the solution, we have to wade through the vocabulary. Because this paper throws around a lot of terms that I feel like get used interchangeably in the business world. We've got serious games, gamification, design games. It's a bit of a word salad. I need you to be the machete here. Help me hack through this.
Happily. Let's start with the big umbrella term, serious games. The paper offers a really clean formula for this. They say a serious game equals a utilitarian scenario plus a game.
Utilitarian scenario sounds a little bit like Orwellian newspeak.
Yeah.
You will enjoy the utilitarian scenario.
It does sound a bit dry, doesn't it? But it just means the game has a job to do. It's a game where the primary goal isn't entertainment. It's training or messaging or exchanging data.
Okay, but does that mean it's not fun? Because, educational games usually suck.
Not necessarily. The game part of the equation means it still has rules, challenges, objectives. The paper mentions a great example called Games of Homes, developed by UQAM in 2016.
Games of Homes. Please tell me that's a real estate simulation and not a Game of Thrones parody where you fight dragons for a mortgage.
It is a real estate simulation. You play as a real estate broker. But think about the mechanics here. You aren't just reading a textbook about housing laws. You have to get contracts, you have to fix prices based on the market, you have to show properties, and you have to close deals against a clock or against other players.
So the stress is part of the learning.
The simulation mimics the pressure of the trade. The utilitarian scenario is learning how to sell houses. The game part is the competition and the resource management. If it works, you don't even realize you're studying.
Okay, that makes sense. You're playing, but you're learning a specific skill. Now, I feel like companies use the word gamification to describe that, but the researchers say that's wrong.
It is technically incorrect, yes. And the distinction is important. Serious games create a separate world. You enter, like, the Games of Homes world. Gamification is about adding game mechanics to the real world.
So adding points to things that aren't games.
Right. The paper uses the classic example of hybrid cars. You know how in a Toyota Prius or similar EVs, if you drive efficiently, you might see little green leaves or...
Oh, absolutely. Virtual flowers growing on your dashboard display.
Exactly.
And if you floor it to pass a truck, the flowers wither and die. It's incredibly emotionally manipulative. I feel like I'm killing a digital plant every time I'm in a rush.
That is gamification in a nutshell. Notice that the car isn't a game. You are still driving to the grocery store. The activity hasn't changed, but they have bolted on a game layer, that feedback loop of the flowers, to motivate you to change your behavior.
So Games of Homes is a simulation. The Prius flower is just a gold star sticker for being a good boy.
That's a cynical way to put it, but
Yes,
another great example from the education sector is Classcraft.
I've heard of this. It's like World of Warcraft, but for math class.
Pretty much. It turns the classroom into a role-playing game. Students aren't just students. They are mages, warriors, or healers. They get experience points for helping classmates or answering questions correctly.
But the math is still just math.
Exactly. The content is identical, but the wrapper changes, and it has consequences. If a student is late, they lose HP or health points. And in Classcraft, if you lose all your HP, it might hurt your team. So suddenly, being on time isn't just about avoiding detention, it's about not letting your squad down.
Peer pressure as a game mechanic.
Effective, isn't it? But
Yeah.
again, the utilitarian part, the class is the main thing. The game is just the seasoning.
Okay, so we've got serious games, which are simulations, and gamification, which is points and badges.
Right.
That brings us to the star of the show, the one that sounds like a typo, the design game.
The design game. This is where we leave the world of training and enter the world of creation. A design game is a tool used in co-design.
Co-design, meaning we are designing something together.
Right. Imagine a typical corporate project kickoff. You have an engineer, a marketing director, a user experience designer, and maybe a client.
Hmm.
They are all sitting at a table.
And they all hate each other.
Well, maybe not hate, but they certainly don't understand each other. The engineer speaks math and constraints. The marketer speaks buzzwords and synergy. The client just wants it to be the color blue and cost $5. They are talking past one another.
It's the Tower of Babel with better coffee.
A design game is designed to solve that specific problem. It acts as a boundary object. It bridges the gap. The paper talks about how these games provide scaffolding.
Scaffolding, like on a building.
Exactly. In education sciences, scaffolding is a support structure that helps people achieve something they couldn't do on their own. A design game provides the rules, the pieces, and the turn-taking structure that forces this group of mismatched professionals to build a complex concept together.
I think I need to see this to understand it. It's easy to visualize Classcraft or a driving simulator, but what does a design game actually look like on the table? Is it just Monopoly, but the properties are business goals?
It's a bit more abstract than that. The paper details an anchor example called ATLS. It was developed by Hanula and Ehrman in 2016.
Okay, paint the picture for me. I walk into the conference room. What's on the table?
Imagine a large board, but it's not a square path. It's a honeycomb structure, a grid of hexagons. It looks almost biological, or maybe sci-fi.
Hexagonal grid, I like it. Very Settlers of Catan.
It's designed to be modular. Sitting around it are 3 to 7 players. Now, instead of rolling dice to move a thimble, you have a deck of cards. But these aren't chance or community chess. These cards represent themes for a service design project. Things like stakeholders, objectives, expectations, or resources.
So I draw a card that says stakeholders. Then what? Do I just talk about
You
it?
discuss it, but the game demands a physical output. You have to write your ideas on sticky notes or tiles and place them on the hex grid on the board. You are physically building a map of your conversation.
So the board starts empty, and by the end of the game, it's covered in this colored mosaic of ideas.
Exactly. It creates a constellation of co-created ideas. And the rules might prompt you to look at personas, ideal types of users, or specific design methods. But here's the twist that usually confuses people. There is no winning.
Wait, pause. If there's no winning, why are we playing? That sounds like a participation trophy. Good job, everyone. We moved some hexagons.
It's a fair skepticism, but in a design game, you aren't playing against the other people at the table. You are playing against the problem. The win condition is that you have successfully built a service concept.
So the game ends when the problem is solved.
The game ends when the board is full and the concept is fleshed out. And think about the difference in the output. In a normal meeting, you leave with some vague notes or minutes that nobody reads. In ATLS, you leave with a physical artifact, the board itself, that documents the entire logic of your strategy.
Okay, I can see the value in that.
It forces everyone to commit their ideas to paper or tile and place them in relation to everyone else's ideas. You can't just nod your head and pretend you agree. You have to physically place your tile next to mine. Spot on. It gamifies the creation process itself. And that distinction leads us to a really deep part of the study. The researchers asked, okay, we have these tools, but how do we actually make them?
Yeah, how do you design a design game? That feels like we're entering a hall of mirrors.
It does, and we will get to the Hall of Mirrors in a moment. It gets very trippy. But first, the paper breaks down the 4 major ways you can approach creating any kind of serious play, and they test if ATLACE fits into them.
Okay, let's run through the 4 approaches. Number 1.
Approach number 1 is serious game design. This is the from-scratch method. You create a game ex nihilo from nothing.
So this is like a studio, building a video game from the ground up.
Yes, it's an iterative process,
Yeah.
very similar to agile software development. The paper mentions the DICE model.
Is that an acronym?
DICE. Define the content, what we need a teacher do. Imagine the concept. What's the metaphor? Create the prototype and evaluate. Then you loop back and do it again until it works.
Standard design process, you build, you test, you fix.
Exactly, and ETLAS was built this way. They prototyped the board, tested the cards, realized the instructions were confusing, refined it, and tried again. But then there's approach number 2, gamification.
Which we touched on. Adding points and badges to a non-game task.
Right. Usually gamification is about extrinsic motivation. You want the badge, you want to be at the top of the leaderboard, but the researchers point out something fascinating about ATLAs. Does it use points?
You said there's no winner, so I assume no points.
Correct. No points, no leaderboards. But the researchers argue it is still gamified. It gamifies the process of design. It takes a work task brainstorming and adds turn-taking, cards, and rules. So it challenges the standard definition. It's not adding sugar to the medicine, it's changing the form of the medicine entirely.
That's a crucial distinction. It's not do this boring task and get a cookie. It's let's make the task itself feel like play. Okay, what's approach number 3?
This one is my favorite, degamification.
Degamification.
Yeah.
Sounds like the fun police showed up. Why would you remove the game parts from a game?
It's the stripping down method. Sometimes a game is too fun, or the gamey parts get in the way of the learning. The classic example is Assassin's Creed.
The historical game where you run around climbing buildings and fighting people, I love that game.
It's fantastic, but imagine a history teacher trying to use it in class. You want the students to look at the architecture of the Colosseum or the streets of ancient Egypt, but every 2 minutes, a guard attacks them and they have to fight for their lives.
Hard to appreciate the Doric columns when you're being stabbed.
Exactly. So Ubisoft released a Discovery Tour mode. They literally de-gamified it by removing the combat, the assassinations, and the story missions.
So you just walk.
You walk, you take guided tours, you explore the world they built without the threat of death. The ludogenic or fun-generating elements were removed to make it a pure learning tool.
That makes total sense for a video game. But can you de-gamify a design game like ATLAs? It's already pretty stripped down.
The paper argues you can. Imagine playing ATS, but you remove the theme cards. You just keep the hexagonal board and the rules for debate. You've stripped out the flavor, but the useful structure, the scaffolding remains. It proves that design games are robust.
Okay, so we have building from scratch, adding game layers, and stripping game layers. What's the 4th one?
Serious gaming. This is also known as the modding method.
Modding, right? That's big in the PC gaming world, taking a game and changing the code.
Exactly. The researchers split this into 2 types. First, serious diverting. This is using a game for something it wasn't meant for without changing the code.
Like using Minecraft to teach architecture.
Or, as the paper suggests, using karaoke games like SingStar or Lips to teach English pronunciation to non-native speakers. The game thinks you're just singing a pop song. The teacher knows you're practicing phonetics using the pitch feedback.
That is brilliant. Using the tool off-label.
Then there is serious modding. This is where you actually change the assets or the code. There's a really powerful example called Escape from Woomera.
I haven't heard of that one.
It's a project from the early 2000s. A group of activists took the game engine for Half-Life, a fast-paced sci-fi shooter, and they completely modded it. They stripped out the guns and the aliens. Instead, they used the engine to simulate life in a refugee detention center in Australia.
Wow. That is a heavy shift in tone.
It is. In Half-Life, you are powerful. You have weapons. In Escape from Woomera, you are powerless. You are trapped in bureaucracy. They use the immersive power of the game engine to tell a completely different, serious story about human rights.
That's fascinating. They hijack the medium to send a message. And you can do this with board games too, right?
Easily. The paper mentions a project called Prevent and Live Better. They essentially took a Parcheesi board, the classic family game, and pasted new images on it to teach health and safety concepts.
Low-tech, high-impact. So they hacked an existing game to make a training tool.
Exactly. And this brings us to the aha moment of the study. The researchers looked at all these approaches and realized something unique about design games, like ATLAs, something that separates them from Parcheesi or Half-Life.
Here comes the Hall of Mirrors you warned me about.
Get ready. It involves a concept called mise en abîme.
Mise en abîme. That sounds very French and very artistic. What does it mean?
It's an art term, basically meaning placed into the abyss or an infinite loop. Think of the cover of a magazine that shows a person holding that same magazine.
Recursive. Like looking into two mirrors facing each other.
Or Inception, a dream within a dream.
Okay, so we have Inception, but for board games, how does that work?
The researchers realized that because a design game is a tool for designing things, it can be used to design itself.
Okay, my brain hurts a little. Walk me through this slowly.
Okay, level 1. You use the game ATLS to gamify the work of design. You use it to design a new service for your company. That's the normal use.
Got it. Moving hexagons to sell widgets.
Level 2. You realize that the game has a flaw. Maybe the stakeholder cards aren't specific enough. So the group sits around the ATLA's board to co-design an improved version of ATLS.
Whoa! So the players become the game designers, using the game to redesign the game.
Exactly. It creates a recursive feedback loop. The tool improves itself through the act of play. This distinguishes design games from standard video games. You can't really play Super Mario to design the next Super Mario. To change Mario, you have to stop playing and start coding.
But with a design game, the playing and the designing are the same activity.
Precisely. It transforms the participants from passive users into active co-creators of their own tools. It means the game evolves with the team. It's not a static product, it's a living system.
That is incredibly meta, but also very practical. If the meeting tool isn't working, use the meeting tool to fix the meeting tool.
It empowers the users. And this leads to the final question I have, which brings us back to your earlier skepticism.
About whether it's actually a game.
Yes. If I'm playing a game where I can't win, and I'm just moving sticky notes around to generate ideas, is it really a game, or is it just organized arguing?
It's the is a hot dog a sandwich debate of the corporate world.
It is. And to answer it, the paper introduces the concept of the epistemic game.
Epistemic. That relates to knowledge, right? Epistemology is the study of how we know things.
Correct. This references work by Eric Sanchez. In a normal game, you have a correct solution, or a win, state checkmate, high score, beating the boss. In an epistemic game, the goal is knowledge creation.
So the win isn't beating the system. The win is understanding the system.
The win is the quality of the collaboration and the ideas generated. Success isn't defined by points, it's defined by the data exchange. Did we understand the problem better? Did we create a shared language? If yes, we won.
That really reframes the whole idea of gamifying business. It's not about making work fun in a trivial way. It's not about putting a basketball hoop over the recycling bin. It's about using the structure of games to organize the chaos of thinking.
Exactly. It's recognizing that play is a serious cognitive state. It allows us to simulate outcomes, take risks, and combine ideas in ways we wouldn't in a formal meeting. When we are playing, we are less afraid of being wrong.
And in a brainstorming session, the fear of being wrong is usually what kills the best ideas before they're even spoken.
You nailed it. The game gives you permission to experiment.
So let's bring this all together. We've covered a lot of ground, from real estate simulations to Assassin's Creed to infinite recursive loops. What are the big takeaways from this study on design games?
I think the paper boils it down to 4 key characteristics that define a design game. First, it gamifies co-design. It turns the hard work of creation into play.
Check.
Second, practically any game used for co-design becomes a design game. Even if you use Legos or a modded Monopoly board, if the intent is design, it fits the category.
It's about the intent, the utilitarian scenario.
Third, the recursive loop, the mise en abîme. A design game offers the possibility of designing itself.
The inception loop.
And fourth, it is epistemic. It's about building knowledge, not just accumulating points.
This has been fascinating. It really makes you look at that stack of board games in the closet differently. They aren't just for killing time, they're engines for thinking.
And looking at the corporate world, it suggests a huge opportunity. We spend so much time in serious modes of communication that are actually quite inefficient.
That's the provocation I want to leave our listeners with today. Think about your next big meeting or brainstorming session. You know, the one you're dreading because it's going to be 2 hours of circular arguments.
What if you turned it into a game?
Exactly. What if you didn't just talk, but you had a board? What if you had rules for turn taking? What if you had to commit your ideas to physical tiles.
You might find that by playing at work, you actually get more work done.
Perhaps the future of work isn't about gamifying tasks with digital badges, but using the ancient structure of games to help us think better together.
I think that's a winning strategy.
Thanks for diving deep with us today. We'll see you on the next one.
Goodbye, everyone.